Y'all know the words, sing along. The earth is flat, the earth is flat. So I was cruising down the street in my 6'4", or in other words I was playing Far Cry Primal, and a thought occurred, as it often does. How do people actually figure out how to do things? Far Cry was a fascinating launchboard for this concept because obviously it's all cavemen running about throwing sticks at each other and eating dirt and fish fingers and being chased by bears. Obviously though, some enterprising Lothario in the cave system has obviously figured out that the thing dangling between his legs has to be inserted into a woman's body for the species to continue. And of course, if you take this train of thought in many different directions, you're going to start asking questions about pretty much fucking everything, man. You've probably seen that fascinating meme about cows' udders and what the person who discovered milk was looking for. Whilst I'm sure we all accept that cows are amongst the sexiest of all animals, it's still a pretty far distance between that small cow is sucking on that giant bladder thing. I wonder why, reaching all the way to my cornflakes were great this morning. I mean, who was the first super genius to look at a pineapple sitting there looking like a mixture between Sideshow Bob and the testicles of Lucifer himself and decide there's possibly something delicious and yellow inside that thing? Just think about all the things that we take for granted now. Somebody had to figure out how these things exist. Somebody figured out how to make fire, or more correctly, generate fire, to pull it out of the ether like some godlike figure or mid-level X-Men character. Some enterprising souls out there managed to fight off saber-toothed tigers long enough to figure out that you could pull random things and materials out of the ground, work on them, treat them, shape them lovingly as you would a mould cast of someone's penis, and turn that random materials and stuff into a gigantic fucking axe so you can crush your enemies and see them driven before you. Speaking of figuring things out, I remember the first time I tried to give a woman a heroic tongue lashing, if you know what I'm saying. I imagined myself as some pink, fleshy Inigo Montoya, darting and weaving around her throbbing, yearning clit. She'll thrash and moan like the T-1000 in that liquid metal shit before having the kind of orgasm that would obliterate her very soul and leave her vagina looking like Predator's face. Unfortunately, it didn't quite go that way. What actually happened was, she stopped sucking what technically constitutes a penis as I relaxed in an upright position against the wall, and then she literally scuttled up the bed to plant a facehugger roughly on my face. Everything slimed and moved against all my facial features, and you spend so long planning how you're going to figure out the licking part that nobody actually explained the scent of potent middle-aged vaginal liquid being violently smeared across my face. I had to figure out the best option on the spot, which was of course to jut my tongue out as far as it could go and wiggle my head about, hoping that the sexual octopus on my face would react positively, and in the end, she did, because £70 will do that for a woman. Here are some questions that are swimming around in the angry shark tank that is my brain, and because I care about these things, you now also will care about these things. Imaginary viewer slash listener slash reader, if it's ever on text. How, for example, did Apple figure out that vacuous, self-entitled, unwashed millennial douche wizards would happily pay vastly inflated prices for substandard electrical goods made by malnourished Asian children who exist purely on a diet of octopus eyeballs and only see the sun twice a year? How did the Chinese figure out that chicken balls would be the best thing ever invented since sex in a helicopter? How did J.J. Abrams figure out that the best way to build a Hollywood career despite not having any particular talent was to waffle on about mystery and suspense instead of focusing on obvious nonsense like well-crafted characters or logical plot progression? How do snakes know exactly how to move despite not having arms or legs? And why can't we do that? How did spiders figure out that that stuff coming out of their ass was not only useful but could be made into a really fancy house for them to live in that also doubles as a nice sticky trap for them to collect their food? And yes, I know it's not technically the ass, thank you David fucking Attenborough. How did Hannibal Barca figure out that the best way to defeat a numerically superior and better equipped Roman army at the Battle of Cannae was to allow his infantry line to bend inwards, luring the Romans forward into a trap before enclosing them with the troops on the reserve on either flank and sending his cavalry to the rear, encircling the Romans completely and chopping them into well-dressed salami? How did we figure out that Mexico exists? and that they were dashing the brains of babies against rocks or eating human feet or whatever it is that's causing Supreme Overlord Trump to want to build the wall of many bricks. How did the Cylons figure out that the best way to learn about humanity's scientific advances would be to create a robot, call it Stephen Hawking, and then guilt trip people into pretending that he's not a robot when he's clearly a robot? How did the US government figure out that building dozens of vaults in secret would protect humanity after the Great War destroyed society? Very forward thinking, if you ask me, even if it was done in slightly shady circumstances. Of course, you got to think about that delicious woman who's sitting in Vault 68 right now. Well, not right now, obviously. I mean, sure, they're all going to die out, but she is going to be getting mad hero dick every day until she dies. If you're going to die, you might as well die in style and with syphilis. How did Rey figure out how to fly the Millennium Falcon despite saying she'd never flown it before? And how did she figure out how to both repel the Jedi Mind Probe and then use the Jedi Mind Probe herself in the same day, despite only finding out within the past couple of days that the Jedi were actually real, even though that very concept is impossibly, retardedly impossible? How did she figure out how to speak droid despite having no real parents and stealing random bits of metal for a living? How did she figure out how to use a lightsaber to defeat a Dark Jedi who was not only trained by a Sith Lord, but was trained by Luke fucking Skywalker? How did she figure out how to become a fucking Hitman level sharpshooter with a pistol after about 3 practice shots whilst under fire by stormtroopers? How did Rey figure out before Han Solo, the owner of the fucking spaceship, by the way, how did she figure out how to fix the lightspeed thing? I mean, bypassing a compressor? What the cock does that even mean? It's fucking bullshit. How did she figure out how to do that other thing?